right, ladies and gentlemen, no fancy intro today, but hey, you come here because you want information on air racing, past, present, future. And I literally landed the plane, ran to the hotel, got here to my hotel room. I am fortunate and blessed to have a very special guest today that you're going to love to hear from, because if you want the scoop on the next chapter of air racing, I'm just going to bring him in. Here we go. Tony Logteta from the Reno Air Racing Association with the news of the day. I'm sure anybody joining us already knows what that news is going to be. But Tony, first of all, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Dave. Great to see you. Appreciate being on the show, and good to talk to you again.
It is. And, you know, I mean, this is great news. I mean, it's the only thing I can think. You know, everybody, you know, we didn't think there'd be anything in the next new chapter, and we have a new chapter. So first and foremost, I have to thank you and your team to keep this dream alive, which it is for the fans. It certainly is for the racers. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It was a team effort, and we had a huge team working on it. All the locations were wonderful. I mean, we had just all 6 locations that ended up submitting official RFPs at the end. I mean, they were all in, and they really, really worked hard to make this happen. And that was, you know, some of the hard stuff, especially as you got down to the last 3. Is the couple that didn't, that was tough. We made friends at all the locations, and they all did a wonderful job. So it was a really interesting and fun process.
Oh, you know, it's I can't imagine. So as just a guy that flies airplanes and stares out windows all day long, it seemed like a lot of work. You know, pilots, we all complain, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that. So let alone putting on a new set of air racing. But I'll without further ado, people already know this, but go ahead, Tony, make the announcement. Where are we racing?
2025 September, Roswell, New Mexico.
Right,
I've got my little green man.
I love it. I love it. We're going to have a lot of aircraft with little green men in it. And, you know, it's wide open territory out there.
Yes.
You know, what were some of the elements that was created you guys to pick that? I mean, I know the choice was hard, but there's a lot of good points about Roswell as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it was right down to it. It was by a nose. All 3 of the final locations, they addressed the concerns and the challenges, I guess, that came up as we went through this process. And, you know, every time we turned over a rock, we, talked about it and usually found another rock or 2 that we had to turn over. And they were all wonderful, addressing and coming up with solutions for how they would deal with things. But every site had challenges. They were all different, some of them were similar, but they all had different challenges. And at the end of the day, we had to go through, investigate it all, present the challenges to them, see what they brought back to us. And ultimately, as we came down to the end and it was time to make our decision, it became fairly clear that the one that was going to end up working the best for us was Roswell. We have a ton of space out there. There's lots of room to grow. There's lots of room to race. There's lots of room for people and for planes. There's room for fly-in traffic, RVs. There's a lot of space there. There's a wonderful community and wonderful people there that are really enthusiastic. That's not unique to Roswell. All the communities were. I mean, I have to say, they were all fantastic. But it's gonna work out great. It's not Reno. It's different. No matter where we went, it was gonna be different. We weren't gonna be in Reno anymore, right? So it's gonna look a bit different, and we're working on that. We're starting right away. A lot of the talk these last couple of days while we were there was, okay, decision's done. Now it's time to make it happen, right? Now it's time to dive in and make it happen. And their team and our team are going to be working our tails off to make this thing happen, get a date set, start to get some information out to folks, because it is going to be built a little bit differently. There's talk about the fact that there's not, 10,000+ hotel rooms in the city, but there's other communities that are close, and there's lots of room for RVs, and there's some other things we can do. So getting the fan base educated and getting that all sorted out is some of what we'll be doing. Plus, got a ton of infrastructure to build. So lots of work to be done. We're excited to get started.
Well, that, it's what we talked about on the first time you and I spoke.
Yep,
There's probably plenty of room for people to step up and volunteer. So,
absolutely.
it's part of this. This is, I guess, step one of many, and that, what a thrill, right? So, we all look backwards and go 60 years of air racing in Reno. Well, this only happens once every 60 years.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Kind of
So
unprecedented, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's uncharted, but it can be fun. It
Yep.
could be great. It's going to be interesting, right? The same thing all the time. That's kind of boring. And boredom is not air racing. Boredom is excitement. Or air racing is excitement.
Yep.
And let's have some fun with it. I mean, you mentioned camping. I see people with campers all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, so we got, of course, there's obvious things, right? It's a new city. It's never
Yeah.
hosted air racing
Right.
before. But imagine how thrilled that community is going to be to see a bunch of crazy people to fly airplanes and love to watch airplanes. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna be the biggest thing in that city, which I
Yeah.
think is really, really cool.
Absolutely. It's one of those, as you're talking through the new community, for the last 6 decades, brought all that impact. And I don't just mean the economic, that's obviously a big part of it, but there's also the cultural and the marketing and all that stuff, kind of an identity for Reno internationally in the aviation world. So that's going to move to Roswell. That's going to be Roswell's identity. And they're so excited to be a part of that and to become part of the September family. It's really neat.
Well, it is. I mean, they're adding their name to history. I mean, we had the Cleveland air races. I'm sure, people put their shoulders up in the air. So, well, that's it. Cleveland air races are done. We'll never see that
Never seen
again.
it. Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
here we are again. There's not many cities that get to say, "Hey, I am part of a unique sporting event that does not happen anywhere to
Yep.
this degree." So.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, really, really cool. So, plans, all the classes will be back. At least that's the plan. And the plan sounds like still September. So
Yep.
nobody has to say my October family. That's good, right?
That's right. Yeah. All the classes will be back. Obviously, there was one that was missing this last year, the biplane class, and we fully expect them to be back and running. Had some talks with the leadership of the class now, and I don't want to go too far down the road with that, but it looks like they'll be back, and we're really excited to welcome back our whole racing family, all 7 classes. So we're excited about that.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
it was so that area there. We've all showed the little green men. You showed your little green man at the beginning of the show there. I think that's a cool marketing side of it. I really do. I mean, so the as we're planning here. So what should the fans be looking for and kind of coming up as we plan to move forward? What should they be looking to, maybe, I'm not even asking for a timeline, but just in general, how is this going to pan out?
So the way we're doing this, obviously, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's going to happen. We got to start getting grandstands built. We have to start getting pylons built and all the other stuff that we need to do to the actual site itself. And that's going to be ongoing. We're going to identify what has to start first and, kind of how we can timeline that out. But as far as the fans go, I do understand. I've seen the comments. I look on Facebook. I look around and see kind of what's going on. And I know that there's a lot of questions around, okay, what's the weekend? We don't have the exact weekend yet. We do know it's going to be in September. The Balloon Fest up in Albuquerque is the first weekend of October. So we know it'll be somewhere between our traditional weekend in Reno and the last weekend in September. We don't know the exact date yet. So we got to figure that out so we can release that so that everybody knows, here's when to make my plans. And I suspect that hotel rooms will start getting gobbled up pretty fast at that point. And then it's getting to the tickets on sale. Now we've got an air show, of course, in Reno in October this year. So we're working on that in the next 4 months, I think we are, until it starts. And then we'll be looking to get tickets up for sale for next year's event. And I'll put my neck on the line here and say that our target date is early December to get tickets up for sale for the 2025 race. So people can come yell at me if we're delayed on that, but we'll make it.
Well, and and all the racers talk to your individual classes,
Yeah,
right? I mean, all your class presidents and the individual classes, talk internally. You guys are going to get the feedback. Obviously, the racers are going to have everything they need.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and so the best thing to do is, I was talking to somebody who will remain nameless, and I said, talk to your class. That's what they're there for. It's
Yeah,
not your job. But I mean, so I don't want to overstep, but can people contact the organization and say, look, I want to be part of a solution. I want to volunteer.
absolutely.
I mean,
Of
if
course.
they were to send an email or say, hey, look, what can I do? I can build stuff. I can put
Yeah.
stuff together, right? I can
Yeah.
donate money.
Oh, definitely. If you go to airrace.org, we have a volunteer page under the About tab, and there's an application in there. I believe there's one that lives on our air show website too. It's a little weird right now because we have two websites running simultaneously, but I believe we have a volunteer app under the air show website as well. So you could go and fill that out, send it in, and then we'll contact you. Otherwise, 775-972-6663 is the office line. Feel free to give a call, leave a name and kind of what you'd like to do, and somebody can send it to you if there's any issues receiving
Yeah.
the application. But yeah, we definitely can use help.
I'm sure. I mean, sure. From still people in Reno needed,
Yeah.
but even out at the new location,
Absolutely.
and people that can have the ability to get out there and do some of the hard work to put
Yep.
pylons out there and all that stuff. I mean,
Yes.
why not? People want to be involved in the races. Here's your chance.
Absolutely.
Or you can show up and buy a lot of tickets, buy VIP tickets, and do that too.
There you go. Do that if you want. Yeah, that's fine. We don't mind.
Nothing wrong with that. If you want to donate prize money, that's great too. Everybody will take that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and seeing the dedication from our volunteers and others, both between the new communities and folks that have been volunteering here for a long time. A lot of that site selection committee was our volunteer department heads, and they're wonderful. They're out there. They're wanting to make it happen and wanting to help us get there safely and securely, and in a good way, ready to start up in 2025. So lots of dedication. We're really thankful. Looking forward to it.
It was, I remember when the first word came out, right? There was going to be a change. Reno wasn't going to be the place anymore.
Right.
And then people shrugged their shoulders and go, that's it, right? That's it. And then here we are, not too far later. So, to do all that legwork, and then on top of that, come out with a fantastic air show that's going to be held in October. You're not missing a beat. So I really want to make sure people understand that you're not missing a beat. You're still putting on an event in 2024.
Right.
And it's an event, I talked to Air Boss last week. It's an event that he's going. It's going to be a busy air show.
It is.
Right. Yeah. So, we stay laser focused, make sure, get those tickets to the air show.
Yeah.
Buy the tickets. You can right now. The Reno Air.
RenoAirShow.org.
.org. Yeah.
RenoAirShow.org. Yeah.
I just had it up on screen there. There you go. I'll put it back up. Look at that. How fancy I am. It's amazing.
Yeah. You mentioned how people thought, it was done once the news came out last March. Not this past March, but of course, March, what year is that? 2023, I guess. And, that was a time where we all sat down as a board in particular, and to start with, to say, what are we going to do? And to a person, it was, let's figure out how to move it. Let's not give up. So we didn't, and we announced that we weren't going to give up, that we were going to try to move it. And what do you know? We had 38 communities that were interested in hosting. And we went, wow, okay, there's a lot of interest here, and from there we had 11 that actually flew a team out here to sit through a day and a half of basically data download, drinking from a fire hose type of a thing, to give them all the information we could so that they could decide whether they actually thought their community could do it. And from that, we ended up with the 6 applicants, the full RFP applicants. And then we did the 6 site visits and narrowed it to the 3, and I don't even know how many site visits we've done at this point. It's been a lot because there have been follow-ups. Sometimes we had to send people out to investigate a specific issue, So it's been a huge process. It took almost 2 months longer than we had initially hoped, but it was better to get it right than to rush it.
Yeah.
And we're very, very happy. And we feel like we did end up getting all the information we needed to make the best decision possible. And now we're just really excited to move forward.
It's on. It's on.
Yep.
We're racing again.
Absolutely.
Racing in Roswell, somebody said. I just had a message come over to go racing in. Owen sent that. Racing in Roswell.
Yep. I like that.
Very cool. So as we're looking at getting ready for all this stuff without beating it, there's going to be a lot of open issues. Yep. Everybody stay calm. It's like when you break up with an old girlfriend, right? You think your life is over, right? Oh my God, I broke up. I'm never going to get back. And now all of a sudden, here we are again, something new, something fresh. We're going to learn a lot more about air racing than we ever have, right? And the fans are going to see air racing in a different way. I think that's going to be exciting with a different course, different layout. Who knows what's coming? I think that's really what I'm going to keep harping on is, look forward to this, how the changes will improve air racing going forward. I think the Reno air races were far better than the Cleveland air races, right? And so now we're going to move forward. You're going to take all that stuff you learned doing it in one city, transplant that. Some will work, some won't work. Right. Some will change, some will improve, and mistakes will be made. But you know what? Every pilot that goes to a pilot briefing, myself included, right? We debrief. Hey, Dave, you did these 3 things right, but you didn't do these things. And you go, well, let's fix them. It's not the end of the right. I mean, so everybody wants perfection, and the people who want perfection are the ones not doing the hard work. So, right?
No, I understand, and the challenges that do exist, we've looked at them and there are solutions. I just want to encourage everybody that, I do see things out there. I do see the concerns that people have about certain aspects. There were challenges for all the locations, and there were going to be things to work out no matter what. There's no perfect site. But this one is really good. Safety's fantastic. Like the race course is going to be awesome, and really, really excited. And the challenges that do exist, we've already been talking about and working through solutions, and they're there. So I just want to encourage the fan base. It's going to be fun. I'm really look forward to it. So
it's going to be probably, it's the early stages and things is when you look back as an old timer and go, wasn't that cool back then? Right? Because those initial couple of years out of Roswell coming up, they're going to be the most fun times. They're going to be the most parties, right? The things people talk about, not even the racing, just the camaraderie and saying, I was there when something was new and changing, and wasn't that cool, right? And we'll have our RVs parked out there, or any number of ways. You'll have a bunch of really cool hotels in the area that'll be happy to see you. Right? They'll be thrilled to death. I mean,
and this really is a multi-community endeavor on their part. This isn't just it's not just the city of Roswell. It's the county. It's the state. It's the communities that are close by. They're all pooling their resources together, and they are all in. I mean, they are absolutely all in. There were about 200 or so people there for that press conference yesterday, and everybody is just absolutely all in. It's pretty exciting.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, we have our marching orders, I guess, be a part of a solution. Everybody come in, do what you can, where you can with what you got, come on out, volunteer on the site, come to the air show. You'll meet all the players at the air show. You'll be there, Tony, and people can come up and, we can celebrate Reno. You and I are both Reno area residents. We can celebrate Reno.
Absolutely.
Reno is held apart, and I'm just looking forward to it. I don't want to go too long with it, just because I know you've got another set of interviews coming up, and you're probably saying these same things to different people all the time. But the main focus of this. I got people asking about hotels. Yeah, we understand hotels. Get there, make a reservation quick.
That is one of the questions, and we're looking into that. And they do have some solutions. And we'll be getting all that information out. It's one of the pieces that, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but there are solutions. You mentioned RVs. That's a big way to go, but there are solutions on the hotel side as well. And we will be getting that information out to folks.
Well, and that's the thing, rumor mill, right? I can't stand rumor mill. So rumor mill, and everybody will buzz in the background. As a matter of fact, I was getting some good rumors yesterday or the day before. There's people tracking airplanes. I'm getting text messages. I'm going, the airplane is departed. And so I'm like, what in God's name? Who does all this? So I'm getting all this feedback, and it ought to be announced soon. But so as I tell people as a captain on a jet, just relax. Everybody calm down.
Enjoy the ride, right?
Enjoy the ride. We have control of the aircraft. It's going to be a fun ride. Make yourself a drink. And show up. So show up at the air show. Show up at the air races. Everybody says, "Oh well, what about this?" Well, show up. And you know what? The worst problem that we can have is a lot of people come to the air show and a lot of people come to the air races, because that fuels everything else. That fuels sponsors, that fuels other race teams. There's going to be some race teams that shrug their shoulder and go, "Well, I'm not going to do it this year." Okay, we'll have more fun then. So the people that are there are going to have a blast. And that's really what I want to make sure that, I love, some people don't do change well, but I think the most fun times in my life have been times of huge change. And the most growth we've done is through times of huge change. And this is a growth. And so, again, I say thank you a lot, but I mean it, because there's not a lot of people out there willing to put up with the Bravo Sierra. I can say whatever I want on my own podcast, but you don't say, because you guys do that. So I do want to thank you, Tony. I want to thank you for coming on board and putting up with me a little bit. But I'm ready to rock and roll. This is going to be so much fun. And I want to go out there. We will do a remote after we get the air show put to bed and start promoting that out there. And
awesome.
Yeah,
they'll love that. It'll be really cool for sure. And, I've said it once, not once, I've said it before, say it again now, from the start, this event is worth preserving, and it's not to just be given up on. So I'm excited that we have a next chapter. I'm excited for where it's at. So I just hope everybody will join in and share in that excitement. It's worth preserving.
They will. What they don't realize is how addictive air racing is. So we're all addicts to some degree. So, enjoy the ride. This is great. We're getting thumbs up and tons of messages, but we've covered a lot of that stuff. So, Tony, you got stuff to do. You got a lot of stuff. Call me anytime if I can do anything to help.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I know I'm getting a lot of thank yous on the page right now. So a lot of the fans are saying the same thing. We're getting a lot of positive stuff on our end. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Just part of a team. And I just thank them for all the support. I mean, we have the most amazing, dedicated, hardcore fans you could possibly ask for. So I just give a big thank you right back out to all of them.
No, is it now the Roswell?
Well, that's to be determined. The business entity is the Reno Air Racing Association.
All right, that's good.
Incorporated here in Nevada. So that is the nonprofit. It will be the national championship. It'll be the national championship air races in Roswell, New Mexico for sure. The rest of it we'll figure out later.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. You heard it from the man. This is the man with the plan. So we are back. The September family lives on. Thank you once again, everybody that joined us today. We had a bunch of people joining in. Thank you for joining in. And Tony, you have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Dave. You too. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya. Bye.